Hi everyone, thanks for joining us again today for our chapter book story time here at the Caribou Public Library. I'm Miss Erin, and we're going to be continuing to read The Jungle Book, Great Illustrated Classics version by Rudyard Kipling. So we'll go ahead and get started. Today we are reading chapter 4. Here's our picture. Mowgli had been taken by the monkeys, right? So, which they call the Banderlog. Even though the Banderlog lived in the cold layers when they felt like it, they had no idea what the buildings or rooms had been used for. They would sit in circles in the king's large council chamber and scratch themselves looking for fleas. They would run in and out of the ruined houses in the city, collecting bricks and stones and hiding them for no reason. They would play in the palace garden and shake the trees just to watch the flowers and fruit fall down. They would explore the passages and tunnels in the palace, but never remember what they had seen. They would crowd into the underground tanks to drink the water and play in it until it was all muddy. When they got tired of this, they would return to the treetops and try again to get the jungle people to notice them. No. When the monkey people arrived at the cold layers with Mowgli, they were very pleased with themselves. They had kidnapped the man cub away from the jungle people, and it didn't occur to them that his friends would follow or try to rescue him. As for Mowgli, the sight of an Indian city, even a ruined one, seemed wonderful. He had never before seen stone buildings, fountains, cobblestone roads, statues, or a palace set atop a hill. Here's a picture of Mowgli being amazed at the ruins of this ancient city. It was a late afternoon when Mowgli was dragged into the cold layers and thrown into the center of a circle. The monkey people danced around him, singing their nonsense songs and boasting how his capture would make them the most important people in the jungle. By now, Mowgli was sore from his flight among the treetops and angry at his kidnappers. "I wish to eat," he demanded. 30 monkeys hurried away to collect nuts and fruits for him. But they began to fight with each other on the road and soon forgot what they had gone out for. "Everything that Baloo told me about the Banderlog is true," Mowgli said to himself as he roamed through the empty city. "They have no law and no leaders, only stupid chatter and thieving little hands. So if I starve or if I'm killed, it will surely be my own fault. Still, I must try to return to the jungle. Even being beaten by Baloo would be better than being the leader of these ridiculous monkey people." But no sooner was Mowgli at the city wall than the monkeys surrounded him, pinching him and pulling him back. "You're foolish to try to leave. We are great and wise and strong and wonderful people," they boasted. "The most wonderful people in all the jungle. We all say so, so it must be true." Surrounded by hundreds of monkeys, Mowgli had to sit and listen for hours to their absurd boasts and idle chatter. As he stared in boredom at the night sky, a large dark cloud began to move toward the brightly shining moon. "If that cloud covers the moon, it might be dark enough for me to try to run away," he thought to himself. Here he is listening to their chatter, and the cloud is starting to cover the moon. Meanwhile, that same dark cloud was being watched by Ka and Bagheera, who had already surveyed the cold layers and were now waiting below the city wall. "We must be careful," warned Ka. "The Banderlog are dangerous when so many of them are together. Of course, that's the only time they'll fight, when there are 100 of them against one of us. Never when it's one of them against one of us. When that cloud covers the moon, I'll go to the terrace where they've got the boys surrounded in a circle," said Bagheera. "And I'll make my way quickly down the west wall," said Ka. "Good hunting." No sooner had the cloud moved in front of the moon than the Black Panther raced up the slope and began attacking the monkeys as they sat 50 deep in the circle around Mowgli. There were howls of fright and rage as Bagheera stomped on their rolling, kicking bodies. Then one monkey shouted, "There's only one of him! Kill him! Kill!" When a mob of biting, scratching, tearing monkeys jumped on Bagheera, others grabbed Mowgli and dragged him up onto the broken roof of a house. There's a picture of Bagheera attacking monkeys. Then they dropped Mowgli through a hole 15 feet down inside it. If he had been a boy raised by men, Mowgli would have been badly bruised by such a deep fall, but he'd been well trained in jumping and falling by Bagheera, so he bent his body and landed on his feet. From the roof, the monkeys shouted down, "Stay here until we've killed your friend. Later we'll have our fun with you, if the poison people that live in this house don't kill you first." Mowgli could hear hissing and rustling all around him in the rubbish of the ruined house. He quickly gave the snake call. "Sss, we are jungle brothers, you and I." Sss, hissed dozens of low cobra voices. Hiss, stand still, little brother, for your feet could step on us and hurt us. Mowgli stood quietly in the darkness, listening to Bagheera's deep hoarse coughs as the panther twisted away and plunged back into the mobs of yelling and chattering monkeys. For the first time since he was born, Bagheera was fighting for his life. Mowgli shouted out to his friend, "Roll to the water tanks, Bagheera. They won't follow you there. Get to the water." Oh, here's Mowgli with the snake eyes behind him in the darkness. Hearing Mowgli's voice and realizing that the boy was safe gave Bagheera new courage. He was working his way desperately, inch by inch, toward the tanks when a rumbling roar came from the jungle. "I'm here," called Baloo. "I'm climbing up the wall. Wait for me." The moment the big brown bear appeared on the terrace, a wave of monkeys threw themselves on him. But Baloo stood up firmly on his haunches, spread his paws, and crushed together as many monkeys as he could hold. Then he began to slam wildly at others with his huge front paws. A crash and a splash told Mowgli that Bagheera had reached the water tank. Even though the monkeys wouldn't follow him into the water, they surrounded the tank, dancing up and down with rage, ready to attack if Bagheera tried to get out to help Baloo. Here's Baloo, standing up. Oh, look at the monkeys around him. While these two fights were going on, Ka was working his way over the west wall, coiling and uncoiling himself to be sure that every foot of his 30-foot body was working. Then he plunged straight down the wall, ready and anxious to kill. Ka's first strike was into the center of the mob around Baloo. The mighty python didn't even have to open his mouth or drive his head at them. There was no need of a second strike, for the monkeys scattered in all directions, screaming in terror, "Ka! It's Ka! Run! Run!" Here they are running away from the snake. Baloo drew a deep breath of relief. Even with his thick fur, he had been wounded in the fight. Bagheera climbed out of the water tank once the monkeys surrounding him had also fled, shouting and shrieking. "Get Mowgli out of that trap," gasped Bagheera to Ka. "We have to get away from here before the Banderlog attack again." "They won't move until I order them to do so," hissed Ka. And his next hiss spread throughout the cold layers. "Be still." The monkeys froze in their tracks, and the city became as silent as if it were empty. "Ka, we owe you our lives, Bagheera and I," said Baloo. "Never mind that," said Ka. "Where's the man cub?" "Here in a trap," called Mowgli. "Oh, here in a trap," called Mowgli. "I can't climb out." "Sss, you better get this man cub out of here," called the cobras inside the house. "He dances like a peacock and might crush our young." "This man cub has friends everywhere," chuckled Ka. Then he called down, "Stand back, man cub. Hide yourselves, poison people. I'm going to break down the wall." Ka slithered around the wall until he found just a crack that he needed. Then, after making 2 or 3 light taps with his head, he lifted 6 feet of his body up from the ground and attacked the wall. It took no more than 6 powerful, smashing blows to send the stone wall crushing to the ground in a cloud of dust and rubbish. Mowgli leapt through the opening and flung his arms around Baloo and Bagheera. "Are you hurt?" Baloo asked softly. "I'm sore and hungry and bruised, but both of you are hurt much worse, my brothers." Here he is, climbing out of the hole that Ka had made. "It doesn't matter as long as you are safe, little frog," said Baloo. "I don't know about that," said Bagheera, in a harsh voice that left Mowgli a little frightened. "But you realize that you owe your life and this victory to Ka." Mowgli turned to find the great python's head swaying a foot above his own. So, this is the man-cub, hissed Ka. He looks much like the Banderlog. Take care, little man-cub, that I don't mistake you for a monkey some dark evening. We are jungle brothers, you and I, O Ka, said Mowgli. I owe my life to you tonight, and I swear to give you any food that I kill if you are ever hungry. I thank you, little brother, said Ka, with his eyes twinkling. But what can such a bold man-cub hunt and kill that could provide me with food? I've killed nothing yet. I'm too little, but I can drive goats toward my brothers who are hungry. I have great skill in my hands and will repay the debt I owe you, Ka, and to Bagheera and Baloo as well. You have a brave heart and a polite tongue, said Ka, as he dropped his head on Mowgli's shoulder. Now, go along with your friends and sleep. What is about to happen here, you need not see. So here they are talking, with the monkeys looking in the background. While Baloo went to the tank to get a drink and Bagheera backed away to put his fur in order, Mowgli stood watching as Ka glided out to the center of the terrace. The huge python clamped his jaws shut with a loud snap that drew all the monkeys' eyes to him. Can you all see me? Ka hissed. We see you, O Ka, came the low, moaning reply from all over the cold layers. Then sit still and watch as Ka does his dance of the hunter. And Ka began a low humming song as he turned in circles on the ground, 2 times, then 3, weaving his head from left to right. Then he slowly began making loops and figure eights with his body, then soft triangles, then squares, then coils. He never rested, never stopped humming as the night got darker and darker. By then, Baloo and Bagheera had returned to Mowgli's side. Both animals stood, still as stone, gazing at Ka and growling low as their neck hairs bristled. Mowgli, too, watched in fascination, not moving a muscle. Finally, Ka spoke. Banderlog, can you move a hand or foot without my orders? No, O Ka, no. We cannot move a hand or foot without your orders. Good. Then everyone move 1 step closer to me. Line after line of monkeys obeyed helplessly. Even Baloo and Bagheera seemed to be under Ka's spell as they took that same step forward with the monkey people. Closer, hissed Ka, and they all moved again. Here they are, looking at Ka like they're in a trance, isn't it? Mowgli grabbed onto Baloo and Bagheera and pulled them back. The 2 great beasts were startled, as though they were suddenly awakened from a dream. Keep your hand on my shoulder, whispered Bagheera. Keep it there, or I'll be pulled back to Ka. Mowgli turned his 2 friends around and led them, running through an opening in the wall and out into the jungle. They didn't stop running until they were miles away from the cold layers. I'll never come this close to Ka again, gasped Baloo, shaking. If I had stayed there, I would have continued walking until I was walking down Ka's throat, added Bagheera, trembling. Many monkey people will walk that road tonight, said Baloo. Ka will have good hunting. But how can all that come from Ka's just making big silly circles with his body, asked Mowgli, and with a sore nose as well. Ha! That's part of Ka's powers, replied Baloo. He can hypnotize his enemies into doing whatever he orders. You'd better not make fun of Ka's sore nose, scolded Bagheera. That nose was sore from saving you, just as my ears and sides and paws are, and Baloo's neck and shoulders as well. Don't be too hard on him, said Baloo. It's good to have the man-cub back again. Yes, but we've lost many days of hunting, and it's all because this man-cub had to play with the Banderlog. It's true, said Mowgli miserably. I am an evil man-cub. I'm sorry for what I did. I know you are, little frog, said Baloo, but the laws of the jungle says you must be punished even if you are sorry. I guess I deserve any punishment I get. Bagheera then gave Mowgli 6 love taps, which wouldn't have wakened panther cubs from their naps, but for a 7-year-old boy they were a severe beating. Mowgli took his punishment without a word. When it was all over, Bagheera said, Now, Jump on my back, little brother. We're going home. Mowgli laid his head down on the panther's back and slept so soundly that he never even wakened when Bagheera gently rolled him off onto the floor of his home cave. Here's a picture of him riding on the panther as they head home. So, they've escaped the monkeys. Next time, we'll be reading Chapter 5. Thanks for joining me again today. We'll see you then.